Welcome to our virtual history tour. This summer, we explore the history and stories of houses and families in Fort Mitchell. We will post a new video every Friday in June and July highlighting a new house and its history. Videos will be posted to our Facebook group called Kenton Library Archives and our Kenton County Public Library YouTube channel. We will also have a special tour-related post on our Instagram account, also called Kenton Library Archives. Our stop today in the Old Fort Mitchell Historic District is at 118 Ridge Road, also known as the George Paxton Diehl House. According to the 1989 National Register of Historic Places, the George Paxton Diehl 118 Ridge Road house was built circa 1910. Originally, Ridge Road was called Crescent Road on the 1909 Sanborn map. The homes listing on the 1949 Sanborn map shows 118, 118 and a half, and 118 and a third, situated on lots 87, 88, and 89. The property has been split up, and the focus today is on the 118 two-story stucco wall craftsman-inspired home and its first family owners, the Diehls. The tan-colored home has jerkin-headed roof lines and gables. A prominent feature of the structure is the rounded arch front doorway with unmistakably impressive black iron hinges. Beautiful, majestic evergreen trees line the front of the home near Ridge Road. The house is located on a dead end of Ridge Road and is nestled adjacent to Woods and St. John's Cemetery. The Buckeye Molding, Sand, Brick, and Quarry Company bought land in 1883 from the Perkins family to start the Fort Mitchell Country Club, and soon thereafter sold 9 lots, including 118 Ridge Road, for a new subdivision. In 1906, Cincinnatian George Paxton Diehl and his newlywed Covington wife, Marie Elliott Simrall, snatched up one of the lots, according to the Kenton County Deed Book 127, pages 134 to 35. Marie's father was Alexander Greer Simrall, president of the Buckeye Company and also the real estate attorney of Simrall and Simrall, who were the developers of the area. George Paxton Diehl was born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1873 to Adam Guy Diehl and Adelaide Paxton. The Paxton family has DAR lineage, and along with the Diehls, were deeply involved in both the real estate and whiskey businesses. George's family lived in Avondale, and athletic-minded George and his younger brother Ernie excelled in multiple sports. George played semi-pro baseball and also enjoyed tennis and golf. His brother played for a time on 2 professional baseball teams. George was a member of the old Avondale Athletic Club, and his love of sports may have been part of his attraction to living by the new Fort Mitchell Country Club. In 1905, George married Marie Elliott Simrall at the Trinity Episcopal Church in Covington. After building his 118 Ridge Road home, George also bought, and was the first to register, a car in Fort Mitchell, a Hudson, possibly like the one in this picture. In 1912, George was appointed the Fort Mitchell police judge. George was a savvy businessman. Early on in 1906, he was noted as a prominent distiller, being the president of his 2 maternal uncles' Paxton Brothers Distilling Company in Cincinnati, then later becoming the president of the Edgewood Distilling Company, also located in Cincinnati. In 1915, George incorporated a laundry company with both his father-in-law, A.G., and nephew, W.F. Simrall. They called the company Sunlit Laundry and located it on Court Avenue in Covington. George's business interest allowed him to be a world traveler, going to places such as Cuba, Colombia, and Mexico, among others, as a merchant and a manufacturer, selling goods and establishing agencies, as listed on his 1920 passport. The Edgewood Distilling Company was located near the Ohio River in Cincinnati. The company began in 1888 as an evolution from several other Diehl-Paxton family connections of distilling companies. The unique Edgewood product was copyrighted in the late 1800s, even distinguishing it with ads and items, including a fat man wearing a fez. The whiskey was produced at the Trailer Distillery, located on Dix River in Sanford, Lincoln County, Kentucky, and transported to Cincinnati warehouses before rectifying and eventually distributing the products worldwide via the Ohio River. Both George and Ernie held leadership positions in the Edgewood Distilling Company over time. Mr. Diehl additionally was a wise businessman. When another George came to Cincinnati from Chicago in 1919 and proceeded to buy up area distillers, George Diehl sold the Edgewood Distilling Company to him in 1921. Prohibition lasted from 1920 to 1933, when alcohol was illegal in the United States. During Prohibition, a physician's prescription was required to buy, distribute, purchase, and use alcohol for medicinal purposes. The other George, aka George Remus, the king of the bootleggers, was a businessman too, but also a pharmacist and a criminal attorney. Remus discerned a loophole in the Prohibition Volstead Act and strategically located to Cincinnati due to the proximity to a majority of all the distilleries. Late in 1922, the feds caught up with Mr. Remus and his whiskey ring schemes, and he later served time in prison. With the money from the 1921 sale of his Edgewood Distilling Company, Mr. George Paxton Diehl retired in 1922 while still living at 118 Ridge Road. George and his wife Marie had two daughters, Dorothy and Martha. The family often wintered at their second home in Miami, Florida, as shown in this fun 1926 Kentucky Post front page article. Marie died unexpectedly in 1937 at the age of 54. George never remarried and lived mostly in Florida, later working in real estate. At some point near 1930, according to city directories, the 118 Ridge Road beautiful stucco Diehl home was divided into 4 separate apartments, as it remains today. George's daughter Dorothy married a Covington stockbroker named Gilbert Davis, and they lived in one of the apartments for a time before relocating to Covington. George survived to the age of 73 and died of cancer of the esophagus in 1946 at his daughter Dorothy's home. George and his wife Marie are buried in the Paxton family plot at the Highland Cemetery in Fort Mitchell. Noteworthy regarding George Remus's fate is that after getting out of prison, he lived at several Covington addresses, with his last one being at 1810 Greenup Street, where he died in 1952 at the age of 78. The king was laid out at Allison and Rose Funeral Home and is buried in Falmouth, Kentucky. There are many books written about his fascinating life. If you'd like assistance with researching your own historic Kenton County property or family tree, you can make a one-on-one research assistance appointment by calling 859-962-4070 or emailing history@kentonlibrary.org. Thank you for joining us today on our virtual history tour.